1991, is when I end up with the new name, which everybody started calling me Suicide. And it was from an attempt to suicide. I actually put a gun to my head and shot myself. So, from there, it pretty much grew on me, the name Suicide, and I pretty much started putting out still the music of my lifestyle of growing up in Compton, gang banging, living in the streets, from being homeless, living wherever I could, sleeping, pillar to post. And I took that, negative energy and I turned it into something positive and, start pushing the name Suicide. And, it really worked out because, first people would, kind of turn away from it. But then once they heard the story, I'm like, wow, this dude actually shot himself in the head. And then when you listen to the music, it pretty much everything fits together. Like, okay, he really lived this. You got a lot of cats that talk about it, but I actually lived it. December the 31st, 1991, I pretty much, me personally, I felt like I came to a point in my life to where I came to the end of my road. So when I was 18 months, I was abandoned by my mother and my father, found in an apartment. I had been there for days, in this apartment, and children's services and the authorities came and, pretty much took me and took my older brother, and I was placed in a foster home. And growing up in Compton, the streets was where it was. That's what it was about, out on the block with the older cats, getting money, gang banging, doing what it do. And I started bringing drama to the household, of my foster parents, to where, the house kept getting raided. This house got shot up. I'm out shooting at cats shooting at me. So it got to a point to where they put me out. Was like, you gotta go. We can't deal with this. You want to live that life. You live that life somewhere else. I was 16 at the time, so I was like, fuck it. I got my stuff and I'm pretty much left because I was asked to leave, and I just started staying with people and wherever I could, and it got to a point to where I got older. When I was 22, I had been selling drugs and sleeping wherever I could and doing whatever I could to survive. And December the 31st, 1991, I was over in my neighborhood off Lantana and McKinley at, the little homie's house. And, man, I woke up that day and, the day before I had pretty much sit outside in the rain all night. And, I felt like I had a burden on my life to where, I felt suicidal, but I was looked upon as one of the cats from the neighborhood. I was known as a shooter. So for me to approach any of the older homies and tell them, I feel like killing myself, I kind of felt embarrassed to do that. So instead I just went on ahead and I put a gun to my head. And, I remember a couple of the little homies was like, man, what you doing? What you doing? I'm like, I'm done, homie. I'm done with life. So I clicked the hammer back and I squeezed and, let the bullet out. And last thing I remember is I just blacked out. Everything just went black and it got real bright for a second. And then it just got dark. And the next thing you know, I woke up in the hospital. I realized I was in the hospital because my vision was real blurry. And as my vision started coming to, I started, seeing doctors scrambling around the room and pretty much, looking at me like he's alive. Because it was a point to where they felt like, well, he's not going to make it. People that was calling up to the hospital to check on me, they was telling them, well, he's not expected to make it. Like, this is a vital shot, so he's not going to survive. But, God spared my life, and he spared my life for a reason. And, I was able to wake up, from a coma and be able to be removed from the trauma center. And, I'm here today.